I'm Donna Lynn Thomas, and I'm the author of the Anniversary Sampler Quilt. This is a really special quilt for me. As quilters, we like to commemorate the special events in our life with quilts. And so in 2015, I went back and I made a quilt that took me back 40 years to commemorate two very life-altering events that happened that year, very close together. And the first was that I met the love of my life, who became my husband, and I made a quilt for him just a couple months later. And those two passions have carried me through my life. To make the quilt, I chose 40 of my favorite blocks. They each had something special about them. There was a meaning to each of them. I used 40 reds and 40 pinks from my stash, and it didn't make a dent. It was like a walk down memory lane, picking through the fabrics from all those years ago, and from new ones just as well. It was a wonderful experience. But beyond making my own quilt, I wanted to encourage others to make their own commemorative quilts, to remember their special events and to put them into quilts as well. So in the book, there are 6 alternate sets, quilt sets, that you can totally customize for a 10-year, 15-year, 25-year, 30, 40, or 50-year event. And we all have so many things to commemorate. It would be a shame not to do that and leave a message for those to come. So in a perfect world, putting all these blocks together should be a breeze, right? But in the real world, that's not the case. There are 40 different blocks, different degrees of difficulty. And the reality is that you're going to have some difficulty getting them all to fit together. So I have a solution for that, and let me show you what I did. So the goal when you're putting a lot of different blocks together is for them to be the same size, so everything fits together well. With so many different types of blocks, that can be a problem. So what I did is I framed each block in framing strips that are actually oversized to start with, and then trimmed back so that they're each 8.5-inch cut size. There might be small differences in the size of the framing strips from block to block, but you really don't notice that, and that's the way, one way to standardize the size of all your blocks. So let me show you how to put those on. In addition, I want you to notice that no matter how you rotate these blocks, you don't even have to worry about seams matching on these framing strips. And that's because I used partial seams to sew the strips onto the blocks. So I'm going to show you how to do that. And you'll find that it really makes the process of sewing these blocks together a breeze. Partial seams are a really simple trick to use to build strips around a block, or in some cases to actually make some certain types of blocks. But you begin with your first strip on your block, and you only sew it on part way. You leave this part unsewn. What that gives me now is a clean edge over here. And now I'll sew the second strip on to this clean side, and remember, these are oversized. They're wider than they're going to be in the end. And now I sew the third strip on to this nice clean side I had, so that's sewn in place. Now I have this clean edge where I can put my last strip, which is what I've done here. I've sewn this strip in place, and now the last step of the whole process is to go back and finish the end of the very first seam that you sewed. Just finish it off, and then you've got your completed block. Now you'll take this and trim this to 8.5 inches, and you have a perfect 8.5-inch size block, even if this wasn't 8.5 to 6 inches to start with. And you'll not have any seams that are going to meet on the edges of your blocks when you sew block to block, which will make it a really easy process sewing the blocks together. And that's all there is to partial seams, as easy as can be.